The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's TGIF Friday, and I'm fixing everybody else's mic cords.
I can see that. Like
they all look like birds' nests. Nobody has any consideration about the next person to use the mics. Okay, that's done. All the other mics are straightened out. Well, I don't know, CJ. We got a whole bunch of baloney here today.
Well, the first thing I want to definitely cover is the fact that as many people may remember, a few months ago, the government announced the Equifax breach. Equifax is the credit reporting company.
Yeah.
Well, they finally reached a multi-million-dollar settlement with the government and with the people who are affected. You can go to the Federal Trade Commission website, ftc.gov, and look up and see if you're affected by this situation. And if you are, you can file a claim for either $125 or for free credit reporting monitoring for all three credit bureaus for 3 years, and then an additional 3 years just for Equifax. That's worth about $240 a year, just so you know. Personally, I was affected. I filed for the monitoring. But if you've already spent money on defending yourself against some identity thieves or infractions into your credit profile, you can get that money back from this. So take a look at it. Go to ftc.gov, look up the settlement, and see if you qualify, and file your claims. I mean, if you don't want to do the monitoring, hey, it's $125 in your pocket. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, well, you got to do a little bit of work, but it's worth it. Get your money back. It's your money, and we always try to keep the money in our wallet, because the government. Then again, the government might have a fee to absorb this. Who knows? Because the way things are going. But yeah, do it. But there's actually a website you can go on that finds out if you have any money anywhere.
Right.
That they owe you, like in bank accounts or something like this that you had no idea you had.
Freemassmoney.com.
Yeah, and I actually went on that a while ago, and I found out they owed me like $32 or something like that. So
I found out that they owe me $40.
Yeah.
And I've tried to get it, and they keep sending me paperwork back to file again. Yeah. I said, for $40, this is too much aggravation.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. It probably take me $32 in stamps to
exactly.
Get going back and forth and emailing and in time. But there are websites, but this is an issue too, because we're talking about identity theft. We're talking about credit ratings that are less than accurate, what can cost you interest money. So it's an important thing. So don't forget, get on there, get on the website and check it out. Now, what can we cover next? Plans for
PrimaCare workers are big donors to the Correia campaign.
What a surprise. Yeah, how many years have we been talking about this? Like, how many years ago did all the janitors give the mayor $500?
Yep. Well,
and janitors don't make enough. You know that this is just they're giving it in their name,
right? And
reimbursing them for the donations so they can give donations. Pay to play. PrimaCare is notorious for this. They always give a ton of money to whoever's in office and pay to play. And then if you go there, they'll charge you extra money to do your paperwork, which is illegal.
To pay for that donation.
To pay for those donations, exactly. So forgive me if I'm not a big fan of that particular facility, but I'm not. It's just my own personal opinion. But they seem to be quite predatory with fees, and they charge a lot of fees that
Well,
that they should be charging.
Interestingly enough, the doctors and administrators working at PrimaCare have donated a total of $50,600 to Correia since December 2016, according to the Office of Campaign and Political Finance database. The only larger donors to Correia's campaign and legal defense fund are those associated with the marijuana industry. Surprise again, right?
What a surprise.
Yeah.
Amazing.
PrimaCare CEO Richard Matus said he and his board of directors often host politicians for breakfasts or lunches to meet on a one-on-one basis. He said doctors' donations to candidates are completely voluntary.
Yeah. How many doctors didn't give? Let's see if we can get that stat. How many employees? There was one time where 100%, virtually 100% of all the employees that worked in that building made campaign contributions to a mayor.
Right.
Now, that's ridiculous. Anybody who believes that I've got a giant mountain in the middle of Florida, I can sell them. So,
Well, Matus
and a
is-
couple of bridges too,
Yeah, Matus
if they
is
want to, if they
justifying.
want to buy it. Look, if this isn't pay to play, you know. But the problem is, as we said, you look at this stuff and they investigate it and they go, well, you know, and they host dinners. Yeah, just like the pharmaceutical companies used to have lobster dinners at the Venus de Milo for all the doctors in Fall River. So you could go to the Venus once a month, eat all the lobster. You could take a lobster dinner home with you on the pharmaceutical companies. Then when you went to that doctor and he could prescribe you a medication that you paid $3.25 for, like amoxicillin or something like that, he'd give you one of the new designer drugs that you have to pay $500 a pill for, even though the amoxicillin would be fine. And this is the way these things work. And if you don't understand that and you realize this is why the corruption and even the perceived corruption cannot be controlled unless you throw these people out every other election. 2 terms max and they're gone, just like the president. 2 terms max and they're gone. For every office, if you want your government not to be bought and paid for by these big, giant companies that are making hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars, millions and millions upon dollars in medical facilities, and then they turn around and charge you $135 to do your paperwork for Medicare, which is not legal. So you get upset when you get a bill and you think it's okay, and they say, well, you know, we got to charge you to do the paperwork. It takes time. Well, you can't charge. It's part of your job to do the paperwork. You don't complain about the paperwork you do to get paid.
God forbid.
When you do your billing, when you bill Medicare and you bill Blue Cross and Blue Shield, you don't complain about that paperwork, but you have to do some paperwork for one of them. You go, oh, well, I got to do paperwork for the patient, so we're going to charge you. It's just, hey, it's not new news. Spindle City Straight Talk has been talking about PrimaCare and their donations. And I think this article says of the 17,000, 16 was given by PrimaCare. The latest 17,000 in the fund.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be. It's gonna
Of
be.
the PrimaCare employees, only one reported a residential address in the city.
Yeah. Well, what's going to be interesting is the mayor. If you remember, a couple of months ago, the mayor only had about $3,000 left in his campaign account.
Yep.
Now all of a sudden, PrimaCare gave him $17,000 more, so he's got $20,000. It'll be interesting to see if he wins the election with only $20,000, seeing that he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in previous elections.
Well, you know, I mean, there's the telling thing to me. This isn't to try to get favorable treatment when only one reported a residential city address. Now, let's look at this objectively. You're a doctor. You're not making $15 an hour. You're a doctor. You're making pretty good money.
And you don't live in Fall River.
And you don't live in Fall River, so you don't give a damn about Fall River politics, or you shouldn't give a damn about Fall River politics, unless it's going to benefit your life. your lifestyle, give you special variances, give you special treatment. When you pick up the phone to look for a favor, you may be looked upon a little bit more favorably. All those donors, not one of them will list an address because they don't want you to know they don't live in the city. Why would people that live out of town give thousands of dollars to the mayor? Well, you know, maybe when people say there's a perception of corruption, even if there isn't, you're innocent until proven guilty, but the reality is, when ironically everybody who gets a non-opposition letter donates to the mayor, all these places like PrimaCare occasionally go in front of the city council for various items, and I can't remember the last time they didn't get what they wanted.
They always get what they want.
And I wonder if it's got to do with these campaign contributions, huh?
Well,
I don't know. Just call me, call me a pessimist. You know,
I'm calling you a realist.
Even though I'm a pragmatist, that's right, I'm a realist. You know, anybody that doesn't understand this, and listen, I'm not saying that PrimaCare. It's part of the political landscape. It's part of the reality of life. You can't stop these big money companies and these big money people and these rich people from buying their way into anything, while your son or daughter has to scratch their way to find enough money to get to college or get a better life. They pay for their kids. They pay for SAT exams to be taken for their children. They pay for their kids to get into prestigious colleges when they've got the IQ of a cauliflower, and they're only there to party by their own admission. I'm there to go to the games and party. I'm really not that interested in college, but mommy wants me to go to a prestigious college, so later on they can say, oh, she went to this college or that college. They buy their way into everything, as do companies. So you know the only way to stop this?
Term limits.
Term limits. Vote him out. 2 terms max. I don't care how much you like the guy. If he's been in for 2 terms, get back into the real world like everybody else and appreciate the damage you have caused with your bad votes and the good you would have done with your good votes for the people. Because force them to have a perspective that at some point in time they will again become part of the great unwashed. The regular people. They're not going to sit up in Congress for the rest of their life and get the best health care in the world while we get raped and pillaged for our pharmaceuticals, while we get taxed and feed to death. They're going to get all their benefits. They're going to get the best health care. They're going to get a great retirement. They can give themselves pay raises anytime they want. I mean, there's Ocasio. I'd like to see her what she claimed for income tax before she became a $175,000 a year congressperson, and she said she's not making enough. I'll tell you what. I mean, in my opinion, that's a hell of a lot of money for basically saying...
She's making too much.
For making, yeah, far too much for basically, you know, ranting like a lunatic most of the time. I haven't heard one logical thing from her. But they live in a world that, okay, I'm going to be here and I'm going to be here for life until I retire. This is a career path. It's a career path to becoming a monarch and to living a lifestyle of the rich and famous. Even if you're not rich, you're a congressman. You can become rich later on, as many of them have. But you live a lifestyle that completely divorces you from reality. You don't care about them. You know, I mean, look at what they're fighting over now. They haven't fixed health care now. It was years ago. They were talking about the EpiPen, the cancer drug, the outrage of what's happening to drug costs. What's happened? Zero. Nada. Nothing. They talk about partisan politics, and they're more worried about who they're going to get elected and getting their friends elected. And there's only one way to fix it. You can't blame them for taking advantage if you're dumb enough to elect these people and vote for them. And, you know, don't be upset when they don't do anything for you. They have no incentive to do anything for you because, number one, you're going to continue to reelect them, and number two, they will never have to suffer the consequences of their actions. They do not have to worry about drug costs. As a matter of fact, most of them get kickbacks from the pharmaceutical companies. So, but that's it. Again, a great example of how big money and rich people, all men and women, are not created equal. Money and power allow you a completely different lifestyle than the average person who has his nose to the grindstone every day trying to make a living. And we may not be able to completely stop it, but we can put a big dent in it by, number one, removing an entire class of people called politicians and make that a part-time job that you go in and truly do make a choice for 1 or 2 terms to become a public servant because you have the best interest of this country at heart, knowing full well you are not going to do that for your entire life, that you will have a life afterwards, and you will be subject to the same things that the average person will do, and you'll see the perspective change very quickly.
Well, I'll tell you, getting back to PrimaCare real quick, the last thing they went to the city for was a special walkway over Pleasant Street, remember?
Yep.
So they want a special walkway over Pleasant Street to make it easier for people to get from the parking lots they have across the street from their buildings over to their buildings, which I don't see as a bad thing. I don't see that as a good thing. I just see that as a potential new hazard.
In a place like Fall River, we're going to have, you know, the only you see those things in Las Vegas,
right?
Because they're bringing the suckers in to blow their money, and so they make it easy if you don't have to stand in front of Las Vegas Boulevard and wait for
the traffic light.
Tons of traffic, and then you cross in a herd of 150 people, which you do, thousands of people basically crossing the streets down in the center of the strip. But at the top, they have walkovers because they make it easy. You don't have to worry about traffic. You just get on the little bridge and walk from one side of Las Vegas Boulevard to the other side of and walk right into the casino. They all have access into the casinos because that's what it's all about. And with them, it's easy. Access for them to get that revolving door so they can make their money and donate it to politicians.
Are you saying PrimaCare is a casino?
For them it is, because they hit the jackpot. And they learned how to do it. They got 777s all the time. They know what that is. Keep giving money to the politicians, and they'll never say no to you.
And all the patients, they get craps.
Yeah, they get charged for their record. You owe us $135.
That's right.
For us to do your records, you know, after we charged you all outdoors. But hey, like I said, we get back to what we say on this show all the time, CJ. You and I are, you know, always complaining about the voters and their total, you know, their total disregard for the reality that if you keep putting the same faces in there, nothing will ever change. You're not going to change. You know, I'll make a bold prediction. There's 2 vacant seats on the council.
Right.
And I know that one of them will be one of the old faces that's left the council.
Possibly.
I'm a gambler. I'll bet anybody.
Oh yeah, I'll put money on it.
I'll put money on it. That's one of them. And we can guess, probably, give me 2 guesses. I'll get the second seat right also, because it's not about platform, it's not about what you're going to do, it's not about if you have any consideration for the endless tax increases and fee increases. Nobody even asks that. What do you got? Who's catering your fundraiser? Yeah. What are we having? Chow mein sandwiches, hot dogs, donuts. I know you don't do donuts anymore at the high rises, but most of the time. But that's what it's all about. It's not about, are you going to try to do something for the beleaguered taxpayer? No, it
God
never
forbid.
is.
God forbid.
And we keep saying it. You put the same old in there, and you complain all the time that nothing gets done. Well, nothing gets done because the same people that have done nothing for all these years except talk, like they do on the federal government level. This morning when I left the house, I was watching TV. They were talking about the tampering, which Democratic thing, whining about, this is a terrible thing we have to deal with. We're not doing the right thing, blah, 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 blah. Then the commentator pointed out that this started with the Obama administration, and the same person was sitting in Congress then, but they had a Democratic president, but nobody made the big deal they make it out of now. Russia's been tampering with elections before the last election, and we knew it. But the same people that are complaining are now complaining that didn't complain then. The same people who voted for a wall and funding for a wall
Under Obama.
and under Clinton.
Right.
You needed a wall when you had a Democratic president. They both spoke about stemming the tide of illegal aliens. Saint Obama talked about stemming the tide of illegal aliens and bringing them in legally. Both of them proposed a wall. They were in favor of a wall then, but now because, it's got nothing to do with whether something's right or wrong. That's one of the problems we have in Washington. Everything is partisan politics. It's got nothing to do with the fact that we need something. We've got to do something about this immigration.
And you know what's funny?
And your idle presidents, the ones Bill Clinton playing his saxophone on stage, I still
And getting
remember that.
serviced.
Yeah, and getting serviced, exactly.
What's very interesting is Nancy Pelosi keeps saying, this isn't political. This has nothing to do with politics. But obviously it does, because when you had Obama deported more illegal aliens than Trump has even touched yet. So how come nobody's saying anything about that? How come nobody said anything about that then? Because the Democrats didn't want to fight it. They said nothing. They said nothing.
Well, like
Because they had
Nehemiah.
a Democratic president.
Like Nehemiah at the Holocaust Museum, when he said, when they came for the Jews, I said nothing. When they came for the trade unions, I said nothing, because I wasn't a trade unionist or I wasn't a Jew. And when they came for me, there was no one left to speak. Well, it is political.
Yeah, it is.
Because they took completely different positions. And what gets me even more disturbed, and I understand that because you had a Democratic president, so they're not going to say, oh, no, we don't want this. You're right. Everything you say is right, Mr. President. You're one of us. You're from my party. But it's like now you got the squad. I don't know whoever came up with that one. I have a much more colorful adjective to use for those four, but you can't use it on public television. But the squad, who does nothing but rant about the conditions on the border, did not vote for the beds.
Right.
They don't vote for anything that has to do with border security or improving the lot of the people who are being detained at the border. They vote for nothing that will help address the problems that they continually complain about and characterize as concentration camps. So, but nobody calls them on it because the mainstream media just doesn't care. They don't care about accuracy. They're biased too. Because, was it yesterday or the day before? on one of the national news agencies. They opened up the question. They showed an excerpt of the questioning of Mueller, and they showed the section when they said about the president could be prosecuted for collusion or obstruction, and his answer was yes, and that's all they showed. They didn't show that later on in the afternoon he recanted that. His attorney, who was sitting there, must have said at the break, "Look, dummy, you don't have enough evidence. You couldn't. That's why you said they couldn't," or somebody else wrote it and you took credit for it. And then in the afternoon, he changed that. He went back and corrected that statement and made it more accurate. Did they show that piece? No. That's blatant politicizing of the news. You only get sound bites. That's one of the problems with 24-hour news organizations. They're relegated to giving you sound bites, and what they do is they get sound bites that basically support their narrative and their political positions. Both sides. So, you know, there's only one way to cure this. We talk and talk and talk and talk about this. There's only one way to cure it. Drain the swamp. Let's see what happens in November. My prediction?
No significant changes.
No significant changes, exactly.
Yeah, no significant changes.
That will be it. It will be the same old faces doing the same old things, and everybody will complain, and I can complain because I won't vote for virtually anybody there.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will vote for people who don't get in. At least I will have the satisfaction of knowing I made an attempt to drain the swamp.
Well, hopefully we can start next week with bringing some candidates on. I'm going to try to get a hold of some of the newer candidates
Yes.
that are running for city council, and we'll bring them on. And in August, we're going to definitely bring on the 3 candidates that are running for mayor. We'll probably bring them on the last week of August, because the first week of September, I believe, is the election week. So I think that wouldn't be fair. But
Yeah,
probably
no, yeah, you're right, yeah. We'll try to get some of the new council people because, I mean, some of them, even to us, and we've been involved in this for a very long time and know everybody who's been fairly, at least even had a minuscule little bit of interaction with the political scene. Some of these names are like, but that doesn't mean they don't have good ideas.
like Mollicone, I don't know who he is.
Yeah, well, you're right, and I've never seen that name, but as I said, this is the reason that we wanted to do this rather than have a debate. We don't want you to see these people giving 30-second answers and basically being shut out because there's so many. You bring them on here, they're new. We don't know. They may have tremendous ideas. They may really, really present a good platform. And that's why we want to have them here, because you'll have an opportunity to listen to them by themselves on this show with an entire half hour to present themselves to you so you can get to know them.
And you know, that's going to be one of the great things about it. And you know, I know some people wanted a debate and they've asked for it, but the majority of people who watch the show all said the same thing. They loved that the last way we did it, where we had the candidates come on the show and gave them a half an hour and let them say what they want.
Yeah, well, and I understand some of the people like debates, because in a way I like debate, but it's a theater.
Right.
It's not really an effective way to get to know the candidates. 30-second, 1-minute answers and 30-second rebuttals and back and forth arguments is not the way to get to know a candidate in depth. And that's what you should do before you vote. So have a good one. We'll see you next week.
And I'll be getting a hold of those candidates.
Hopefully we can get a candidate on. We can get a candidate or two on next week.
Yep. And if you're a candidate and you're watching, give us a call. We want to see you on the show. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember, stay angry. Have a great weekend.